Singles. Okay. Right. This script's been around almost as long as you have in Hollywood, haven't you? As far as your career is concerned, you knew it with Lawrence a long time ago.
Right. I was aware of this script, I think, when I was making Silverado. And that's kind of how I built my career, was on what I thought were good stories and good scripts. So I always kind of sniff them out, and it doesn't matter to me. In fact, most of the movies I've ever made have been kind of problematic movies in a sense. People either didn't want to make them or they were in turnaround for the most part.
I heard that a long time ago this was going to be Barbra Streisand and Steve McQueen.
Yeah.
That would have been interesting. I think there would have been a lot of fighting there or something, but it would have been interesting.
Yeah, well, that would have been great casting, I think. And so now it's Whitney Houston and Kev.
Yeah, I don't know who else could have done this in the ladies. It had to be really a legitimate singer. It couldn't be some actress that you're faking it
That's
with.
what I felt. That's what I felt. And you talk about the experience level, but when you start to ask an actress that's well known, even a popular actress that you like, enjoy, for them to make that jump, that they're that, you always know in some way that it's an acting job. It's not. And because Whitney had never been in a movie, that bridge suddenly, it was like you were actually getting a more in-depth look at her life, so she could take on it as her life.
Yeah, I think you also buy the concept that she could be in danger or that someone would be a fan of hers because she's basically not playing herself,
right,
but she
exactly.
is into a way.
Yeah.
How have you changed really in this 20 years? I was looking back at some old tapes. I saw an old tape we did of Silverado. That's been quite a while. How has Kevin, the actor and the person, changed since you hit town here?
Well, we all change. We all go through things. But what's important is what's the same, which is my love of movies, my desire to be in good movies, to wait for them, and try. And that hasn't changed. I've had to deal with things that, certain instances you could only dream about because I could never imagine. I got a pretty big imagination. So there are things flying in front of me that I have to deal with. But, hopefully I've, gotten smarter about stuff. And but my basic, the thing that drives me, the thing that's gotten me to right here is still intact, which is I believe in the movie. I believe more in the script than I do myself. I won't be in a movie that doesn't have a great script.
How hard is it getting caught up in all this other stuff? I mean, it's more than just showing up for work. I mean, you've got to plan your career. You have to deal with what you publicize and what you don't. I mean, how much of this is the other stuff?
Well, for me, I publicize my movies. If I in my the day I don't, probably won't be because I'm not proud of it. It's just probably because I've just worn out. You think, how much can you do? But by that time, I think my relationship is established with the audience that I'm making movies. They know it. They know. They look in the paper. They try to. Is this a good? Is it an action? They know it's not going to be action. They know it's not going to be comedy. It could be actually either one of those things. What they genuinely know is that it'll be a story. That's kind of my relationship with an audience.
How big a deal was Dances with Wolves when you look back at it now for a career?
Well,
did it open a lot of doors, or doors
not
were
really,
open?
because there's a movie I wanted to do this coming year that the director doesn't think I'm right for, that I know I'm right for, and so I don't get everything that I want. Nobody in life does.
That's probably good too, isn't it?
Well, it is. In this case, it's bad. In this case, it's really bad. Yeah. But that is life. That's the way it goes. And I put my money into 2 movies right now that no one really has wanted to make. So, you don't get everything you want. They want you to do the thing that's certain and sure. They know that people are going to like me in a certain kind of movie, and I like to be liked, but I also like to be involved with original stories.
Was there a single movie that you remember, the first one you ever saw, that changed your life?
Probably, How the Westers one did. I got lost in that movie as a little boy, singing a Birch Bark Canoe and Jimmy Stewart and Carol Baker, and just the whole adventure of that. And I'm not surprised. I went on in my high school days. I was building canoes, and when I graduated high school, I went down all the rivers that Lewis and Clark had gone down. So, the images. Movies really should be about things that you'll never ever forget in your life. And when you can walk out of a theater and not care about the movie, not think about any part of it, then you really have, I don't want to say failed, but you really haven't tried. Because movies really have to be about something that you'll never ever forget in your life, a moment, a scene.
Were you or are you still a fan of movies and stars, movie stars?
Yeah, I go to movies. I'm not a fan of stars. I'm a fan of people who do good work. But I go to the movies once a week. You know, I don't really go to premieres. I pay my $6-7, whatever it is, and I go and I boo at the screen or I say that was great.
Did you have a fan that, I mean, somebody that I heard that you liked, Stephen McQueen. Steve was a big kind of a role model for you in a way.
Yeah. Well,
Is that true?
you know, he's a kind of guy that did the coolest things, right? You know, he acted the coolest and under pressure and stuff. So when you're a kid, you're always going to respond to those kind of guys. But I responded to the Spencer Tracys and the Gary Coopers and the Newmans and McQueen. So, you know, these guys make up our film history of that traditional leading man who's kind of quiet and in the end says the right thing, does the right thing, and behaves in a way that we wish we could under great stress.
Nice talking to you again.
Thanks,
you.
Jim.
Enjoyed the movie. Thanks.
Yeah.
You working with Eastwood? Did I read that
Yeah,
somewhere?
yeah,
You directed? Who's directing who? He's directing you? Well, Kevin, what's a marketing major from Compton, California doing as a gunfighter?
Well, yeah. It's just a life process of finding out what you want to do and what you're good at. And part of college for me, I think that's what you're alluding to. You know, what was a change? How did that happen? Is I wasn't one of those guys that was fortunate enough to know what he wanted to do when he went into college. And people would tell me, they said, "I'm going to be a biology major." I always found that was interesting. I wish somehow that I could have said that, and so I kind of got in line with the rest of the people, and I kind of said, "Well, I'm going to be a business major," and I was. And as my senior year was approaching, I felt like it was time that somehow I really discovered what it was I wanted to do, and fortunately I was able to do that, and began that shift in my senior year. I went ahead and graduated, but I shifted, and then for the next 5 years I just really began to re-educate myself.
And you worked behind the scenes in theater? Until you could get...
I worked stage managing. I worked on sound stages. I worked with a lot of writer and directors, first-time type of people, and did their material for them down in lofts at night and play student films.
Ray Bolger says that most of his parts have been left on the cutting room floor. Wizard of Oz on to everything else. And you've had a little bit of that, but it's all worked out.
It has, and I tell you, the most important thing for me was direction. I felt if I had direction in terms of career-wise, what I wanted to do, that was the biggest burden off me. The fact that I've been in films and been cut out has never bothered me, because this is what I'll do. To think that was my one shot at something, I guess it would be devastating to somebody. I guess if they go down to make a film up in some small city in the United States, and that legitimately is your maybe one time at a movie, and for whatever reason you luck out enough to have a part, and then to see it cut out, I think it could be devastating. For me, I didn't think of it that way. I thought this is a fact of life. The fact that maybe The Big Chill went on to be a $100 million hit, that that kind of that's a reminder to you that that's something, but that didn't bother me really.
So Lawrence Kasdan liked you so well, he did put you in Silverado. Jake is a wild character. He's a fun kind of guy. Kisses all the girls and gets in trouble, thrown in jail.
Yeah, he is. On paper, he's a great character, and hopefully people respond to him as that.
Did you have to work a little bit on the gun work?
I did. That wasn't something I learned in school, or it wasn't something I had just picked up along the way. I had to pick those guns up, and because I used two guns, that presented a problem left-handed, because my coordination wasn't the same as my right. So and the fact that the guns were so important to this character, it was important that they be equally good.
So did you spend long hours before the movie working on your gun work?
I did, and then I developed big blisters on. You can imagine 2 pounds on each one of your fingers going around. I got to the point where I couldn't spin them at all, and suddenly those particular scenes where I actually have to do some of that gun work was very early on in the film, and so there was a point when I was wondering, oh boy, it was just completely raw, and those big 2 pounds kept going around it. So fortunately, it worked out.
You had a lot of energy in this film. Did you just pump yourself up because you were so excited, or you felt that's who Jake should be as a kid that had a lot of energy, a young guy just full of vinegar?
I think it was inherent in the part, and so the way I do that is just the way I work. I mean, obviously, you and I are jumping up and down right now. I found a way. I saw how I felt. Number one, he fit into the group of four, and then also that it was important that Jake be a different sound. His level of experience is a little different than the other guys, so it's not reasonable to have four guys sitting around talking about their mutual experiences. You know, those guys have experiences that I don't have, and where I'm coming from is a whole nother point of view. So I thought to bring a lot of innocence and also unbridled enthusiasm to things.
Well, what did you think when you saw the film for the first time put together?
I thought like I stunk in it a little bit. I thought everybody else was great.
But it's hard to watch yourself.
It was difficult. It was difficult seeing this guy who was bouncing all around, because I always thought of myself playing very much something like Scott's part, the traditional Western character who I've watched all my life, the kind of guy that's, let's say, real slow to burn. You know, the guy who sits around and doesn't really make a move until he's pushed so far. You know, that type of individual, not a Jake character.
So let me ask you one question about Steven Spielberg here, because you probably can say I can't say about it, but that's a secret NBC series that even the NBC people have not been allowed to look at very much.
Right.
What can you tell me about the episode that you're in? Not the story so much, but who directed it and what?
Right. Steven Spielberg directed my episode, and that was important to me, or, you know, I'm not so sure that I would have done it. The other interesting thing is our episode is really good, and we turned it from a half an hour into an hour. I think it's the only one that's been done that way. We just said we can make this thing a little longer, and it's real exciting.
What is so special about Steven Spielberg? We hear so much about him. I mean, what is it?
Well, my relationship with him is unique. I had a bit to do with him on Fandango, and then obviously directing this film. He's there to make a film. He's very excited, and he's in control. He's just he fuses on ideas. I mean, he's excitable. You don't see him down, and that's special. I don't know. You know, there's. You know, he's just a special guy in our time, as is Larry.
They both know where they're going.
They're both in control.
And that is important to know that someone's running the ship, right?
Right. It's Paramount, or Columbia. Or
Thank you.
Fox or something.
All right. No, Jake's a great character.
Steve.
That's near my home.
Is it? I'm from Tennessee born myself. I'm up in East Tennessee, around Johnson City, Kingsport. A little bit of an aviation